Okay, Chair, when you're ready. Chair Arcuri, when you're ready to start the meeting.
Oh, that whole time I was muted. Sorry about that. Welcome everybody to the June 16th edition of the Santa Barbara Airport Commission meeting. Sorry again for doing this second meeting just without my video. But if any of you are Santa Barbara Dons, go Dons. I'm at a Santa Barbara Dons basketball game for the Summer League. So if you hear screeching in the background, those are sneakers on the hardwood floor. So I'd just like to let the public know and remind the public of a couple of quick things before we take a roll call and get started. First, any member of the public can comment on any item, or I'm sorry, on anything that is not on the Airport Commission agenda this evening, but is within the purview of the Airport Commission. And then as we get through each item, you can also comment on that particular item. And the way that works is Mo, I will ask Mo to solicit any input. You, the member of the public, will raise your hand electronically. She'll recognize you, and then you have 3 minutes. There's a little timer on the screen. We would ask you to respect that 3-minute timer just out of respect for other speakers and to hold an efficient meeting. We generally don't have tons and tons of people speaking, so that shouldn't be a problem. And with that, Mo, I'm going to call the June 16th Airport Commission meeting to order and ask for a roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Present.
Commissioner Goodman.
Present.
Commissioner Reed is excused for the meeting. Commissioner Houghton.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
I am here.
Vice Chair Bowen.
Present.
Chair Arcuri.
And I am here as well.
And we have a quorum.
Okay, thanks, Mo. And are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Director Thompson. Notices that on Thursday, pardon me, Thursday, June 10th, 2021 at 5 p.m., the Airport Commission Secretary duly posted this agenda on the bulletin board at the airport administration. And as I mentioned earlier, item 2 here, public comment. Any member of the public may address the Airport Commission on any subject within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not scheduled before us on this same day. The total amount of time for public comments will be 15 minutes and no individual speaker may speak for more than 3 minutes. So Mo, before we go on to liaison reports, would you see if any members of the public would like to comment on any item not on the agenda?
Members of the public, if you wish to make a public comment on a matter that is not on the agenda, would you please click on the raised hand icon on your control panel? That informs me that you wish to speak. And Commission, we have right now 3 attendees from the public. And Chair Arcuri, there are no raised hands.
Alrighty. Okay, we'll move on to liaison reports. I'm not sure if we have Santa Barbara Council Member Eric Freeman with us. I think I heard you say Council Member, but I'm not sure who we have. Do we have Commissioner or Council Member Friedman, Mo?
We do not have Council Member Freedom. We do have Council Member Kyle Richards.
Awesome. Well, by process of elimination, Council Member Richards, we'd love to hear any report you'd like to give us.
All right, thank you very much. It's good to be here. I have a brief comment that I wanted to share, and I want to start by saying that I understand that this comment may be more appropriately directed to the Santa Barbara City Council, but because this does involve the Santa Barbara Airport, I feel like it would also be an appropriate venue to speak about it here. Recently, as you may know, several locations were under consideration by the Santa Barbara City Council for potential temporary housing for homeless individuals. And I understand that there may have been some conversations between city officials in Santa Barbara and Goleta, but many of us in Goleta were surprised to learn that a property at the airport was one of the sites that was under consideration. And tonight, I just want to make clear that the city of Goleta welcomes discussions regarding how we can work together collaboratively on a regional level to address homelessness. And a good venue for dialogue would be through groups such as the Countywide Home for Good and the associated Elected Leaders Forum to address homelessness. Finally, I just want to add that we look forward to a continued dialogue and other actions on this important community issue. So that's all. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you, Councilmember Richards. And with that, item number 4, Director Thompson, we would love to get the director's report.
Good evening, commissioners. The summer travel season is in full swing, and it's clear by the level of traffic we have coming through the airport that we're recovering from the pandemic very nicely. This past week's passenger activity mirrored the levels that we saw in our record year of 2019. Comparing the month of May this year to the month of May in 2019, we are only down about 10%. United Airlines doubled their seat capacity from Santa Barbara this month, including additional daily service to Chicago O'Hare Airport. And Alaska Airlines will also launch new service to San Diego starting tomorrow. Each of these new routes have been delayed for more than a year, so we're very excited to see both of those carriers moving forward with those routes. As our enplanements continue to grow, we will see pressure placed on our facilities. To manage this pressure, we will begin to take steps to implement the approved master plan projects needed to balance capacity with demand. This will include looking at new parking facilities, rental car capacity, terminal expansion, and commercial aircraft parking space. More information will be provided as we work through the planning, design, and construction related to these projects. And again, I want to emphasize, I'm simply bringing this to your attention. All of these projects are years off from now, but it takes years to actually execute. So there's nothing that's going to happen right away. As we recover, the airlines are returning to Santa Barbara and adding significant routes and seats to our market. To ensure that we maintain our service levels, we must ensure that we fill these seats. To this end, we're marketing the airport and our routes to ensure we generate awareness and drive passengers to the flights that we currently have at the airport. Tonight, we will share some of our marketing efforts with you in a presentation later on the agenda. At the May Airport Commission meeting, staff presented a periodic report on noise complaints and our efforts to address concerns raised by the community. This month, staff met with a group of residents from the Hope Ranch community to hear their complaints and ideas. This meeting was very productive in that we shared the complex issues surrounding noise coming from arriving aircraft. We also confirmed for them that the ideas that they shared with the airport are measures that we're already undertaking at the airport or that are in process. While noise complaints are on the rise, the numbers are skewed given the significant decrease in traffic during the pandemic and the likely perception of an increase due to things returning back to normal. Many of the complaints we have received recently specifically cite Southwest Airlines as the source. However, often our investigation finds it is not one of the 5 daily flights that Southwest has from the airport. The airport continues to monitor flight operations into the airport to ensure that all flights are conducted safely into the airport. And with that, I'll see if managers have any comments? Deanna?
Alrighty, good evening, commissioners. Just a quick update on a couple of things that I believe we may have addressed briefly in May, but just to let you know that we do have our new ATMs installed in the terminal by Montecito Bank. So they went in just within the last couple of weeks. And we are continuing to address the issues that are presented by our rapid increase in passenger traffic and its impacts on our parking lot. And specifically that we have begun, at least partially during the week, the busier days of the week, shuttling employees to the offsite parking lot or the economy parking lot on Hollister Avenue. And on certain busy days, we are shuttling passengers as well. And so currently, as of today, we have roughly 130 cars that are parked in the lot, a combination of passengers and employees. So we are working to improve that service, expand that service in a really quick manner. We hadn't anticipated this was going to hit us quite so quickly, but we rolled with the punches here, and we are trying to get even further ramped up before the 4th of July holiday. And other than that, a couple months ago, we approved a expansion plan for L3 Harris. And just to let you know that that is moving forward in the city's planning department and is looking towards fruition a little later this year. So that's about it for now. If anyone else has any questions, I can take them later as well.
Thank you, Deanna. Aaron, any further comments?
No further comments on my end. Good evening, commissioners. I will be happy to share with you how I've spent my last couple weeks in the administrative report section. Thank you.
And with that, that concludes the director's report.
Alrighty, thank you, Director Thompson and Deanna. And just an editorial note, I've been on the Santa Barbara Chicago flight twice already. I'll be on it again Friday, and was happy to see it just about full each time. And then on my return from Chicago, I sat next to a couple and their 3 kids who were coming to Santa Barbara for the first time from Chicago because they heard it was beautiful. And I absolutely gave them some pointers on places to go. And so that flight is awesome. But anyway, on to the next item, which is the consent calendar. And I'd like to remind everybody that the consent calendar is items that are considered very routine, typically reports or lease agreements or previous minutes that are just considered very routine. So I'm going to, rather than go through each of them individually, I'm going to read each one, item 5, 6, and 7 on the consent calendar. And then if nobody in the public has any questions and nobody on the commission has any questions, then we'll do all of that in one motion. So starting with item 5, the minutes. So recommendation at the airport waive the reading and approve the minutes of the commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. Item number 6, property management report, May 2021. Recommendation that the airport commission receive the monthly airport property management report. And last but certainly not least, item number 7, a lease agreement with Aperion X LLC. Recommendation that the airport commission approve and authorize the airport director to execute a 1-year lease agreement with Aperion, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, X LLC, for approximately 842 square feet of building 225 Unit A at 6150 Francis Botello Road, effective July 1st, 2021, for a monthly rental of $1,221 exclusive of utilities. And those are the 3 items on the consent calendar. So Mo, would you query the public to see if we have any public comment on any of those items?
Members of the public, if you have a comment that you wish to make on any of the consent calendar items, would you please use the raised hand icon on your screen to let me know? And Chair Arcuri, there are no raised hands.
All righty, well, 1 out of 2. And so do we have any airport commission members that have any comments on any item on the consent or questions on the consent calendar?
I have a question on item 7. The leasee is in an industry which has experienced some illegal activity of recent. And I wondered, what is the wording in our lease that would let us out should they fall into that category?
Commissioner Curry and Commissioner, I believe it is question. Wilson, thank you. Sorry, I couldn't quite see it on the screen here. So this lease agreement will have the standard provisions that every lease agreement has, which is a provision for that if the lease conditions are violated in any way, and that includes any state, local, or federal laws, that we have the ability to end the lease agreement. So it's pretty straightforward, and of course, intentionally here, because we do recognize that there is some sensitivity perhaps to this type of a business, that it is a 1-year lease agreement. So we are trying to mitigate risk as best we can, both with the lease agreement language itself, the conditions that we place in the lease, which of course, besides complying with the laws that they're applicable to this particular type of business, making sure that they have things like a security system and some provisions for extra security and a higher degree of insurance than we typically require from a tenant. We've also mitigated it with a short lease term. So this is a space that has been vacant for a while. It is in a building behind Direct Relief. We'd like to get it leased, and we'd like to try to give this a shot. So I hope that addressed your question.
That resolves my question, Deanna.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Wilson, you kind of broke up there. Did that say that did answer your question?
Sorry about that. Yes, that answers my question very well. Thank you, Deanna.
You're welcome.
All righty. Any other commissioners with questions? Okay, hearing none. I'd love it to entertain a motion from a commissioner to approve item 5, 6, and 7 on the consent calendar.
So moved.
Seconded.
And who? Yeah, who and just who was the mover and who was the seconder?
Chair R. Curry, I believe that Commissioner Wilson moved and that Vice Chair Bowen seconded.
All right, terrific. If you'll note that and then do a roll call vote, please.
Okay, this is a
Oh, that's
motion
me.
by this is a motion by Commissioner Wilson, seconded by Commissioner Bowen for the approval of the consent calendar. Commissioner Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Goodman,
Aye.
Commissioner Houghton,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bowen,
Aye.
Chair R. Curry.
And aye.
The motion was unanimous.
All righty. So moving on to the last 2 items. And if anybody would like an update, the Dons are up 13-9. Administrative reports. Item number 8, Airport Marketing Program Update. Very anxious to hear about that.
And Deanna, if you can make the introductions.
One moment there. Absolutely. I was muted there for just a moment. Yes, good evening, commissioners again. It's my pleasure for, I believe, at least, well, it's not the 3rd year in a row because, of course, we had a few impediments last year to talking about marketing and a number of things. But we're happy to have our marketing consultant, Hilltac Marketing Group, back with us tonight. And they are going to give us a little bit of a summary of what we have been doing, how we have, as we say frequently, pivoted our messages over the last year. in the conditions that we faced and what we're looking forward to in the coming year from a marketing perspective. So tonight we have Kim Hiltak, who is the owner and principal of the firm, and she's supported by Chris Vargas, our media planner, and they have been part of our team now for the entire time, the last three years at least, and we're getting ready to start our next year with them.
Thank you. Well, we actually were just in Santa Barbara yesterday for our meeting with Henry and Deanna and Angie. So we're sorry we can't meet in person, but soon enough. So Mo, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Today we're gonna just take you through quickly a recap of 2021. I don't know that anybody wants to relive it, but so we'll make it very short. But we do have some really exciting results to share with you on the marketing front. And then we'll talk about our plans for 2021 and 22. We'll go ahead and click forward one more. Hopefully this is the last, you can click one more. Hopefully this is the last time you'll see that. But 2020, as we know, started out with coronavirus, and 2021 did too. It pretty much dominated our lives, our industry, and pretty much the world. However, going on to the next slide, Santa Barbara really is ending this fiscal year and ending the pandemic on a very high note. Of course, Southwest Airlines has come. Our office, we're all very excited, as are you, I know, but our very first job we opened for Santa Barbara Airport was 2017, and it was a Southwest Airlines leave behind to begin courting them. So we were delighted to hear it finally happened. And of course, we have our nonstop to San Diego, 2 different carriers serving O'Hare. So, and as Henry said, passengers are coming back really strong, and we're excited to see it. Just clicking forward, the obligatory passenger slide, this only goes through April. And of course, that sad line on the bottom is this year, but the exciting part is when you see it start climbing in March and April. And as Henry mentioned, the numbers that just came to me this morning would push us right up to that bright blue line that you see, pretty close to on par with last year. Diving into the next slide with the marketing communications objectives, 2020 and 2021 was a really unique time, and we have a lot of experience working with airports, and we have never had our objective be encouraging people simply to fly. Our objective has always been to encourage them to choose our airport because we knew they were going to fly anyway. So, but with the pandemic, we really needed to switch to a bit more of a public service announcement type tone, we're in it with them, we're in the thick of it together, and we're here to encourage air travel among leisure as our primary audience, and then business as that came back. We're still waiting for business to really turn. We want to then also continue to position SBA as the airport of choice, and then provide that ongoing PR support to convince the public that it is safe to fly again. Next slide. We also, so strategically to implement, we wanted to ensure our creative messages reinforced SBA's commitment to safety and cleanliness while reinforcing that ease of use. We had to reweight the message, and it was important for us to still differentiate from the competition in that way. This really is our opportunity to shine. We're a smaller airport. You have room to spread out. You don't have those crowded lines at LAX when people don't really want to be shoulder to shoulder with people right now. It's our opportunity. From a paid media perspective, we wanted to build awareness among those likely travelers, but we needed to maintain that budget flexibility. Chris really went back through his negotiations, and there were out clauses in every contract. We had to be able to turn that faucet off and on when needed, because there were times it just did not make sense to be in the market. We used social media to generate awareness of those nonstop destinations that we were serving, and then constantly have that dialogue about safety, cleanliness, ease of use, so we could maintain that affinity and loyalty. And then PR became a really important foundation for us to reinforce these core messages of safety and cleanliness, and then also seasonal initiatives, returning flights. Clicking into the creative campaign, we could just click right on to the next slide. You'll recall we've used what we've called the Depart Differently campaign for the last difference. It's just a different experience. So going to the next slide, our goal in 2020, because we really had to approach this differently. We needed to develop a new campaign that was designed to reignite consumer desire to fly and then choose us over the competitors. It was a heavy lift, but we were excited to come up with a new campaign. And the next slide actually shows you the TV. So if we can click the play button, hopefully the audio will work. Oh, darn. Well, we can make sure you all see, get a link to it, but you can see it's just really cheerful, really fun. You know, the light at the end of the tunnel looks a lot like runway lights, and we have room to spread your wings. So clicking forward to the next slide, it's just an example of a few of our other, I think you have to push that lower left arrow. TV gets a little fussy. Yeah. So you can see some of the
It was
headlines.
playing in my ear. I was like, stop.
Mo was
Sorry.
really so, but you can see we used our messaging as an opportunity to tell people, when you're ready, we're here. We're a crowd-free airport. You have room to spread your wings and space to do it safely. And then we also highlighted our nonstops and destinations, because we wanted to make sure people knew you could still get there from here, even though it seemed like flying has ceased. It has not. So, you know, it was a we're open for business message. We could go ahead and dive into the media recap now.
Excellent. Mo, I think we can go to the next slide. So I'd like to start with just a snapshot of all of the activity that we had in the market. And one thing that's important to sort of remind the group is that coming out of 2020, we had some previous media commitments that we wanted to honor. One was with Sojourn, which has been a longtime partner of ours. They specialize in travel and tourism, and they really work in the programmatic display and video space, so all digital media. And then also with our partnership with KEYT, which obviously has been a very important partner to the airport for many, many years. And so, you know, going through 2020, we knew that we needed to put a pause on all of the media that had been running because it would just be, a big waste. But as we went into the new fiscal year, we honored those commitments, and that really allowed us a lot more flexibility and continuity throughout the year. So we were able to use some of that media with KEYT and Sojourn to support the traditional approach, where we would have really large impact periods around those traditional travel planning windows. But then we also were able to craft partnerships with KEYT and also lean heavier into the KEYT partnership to really provide continuity throughout the year. So Expedia really served as a partner that drove or supported that the retail piece of our business, whereas KEYT allowed us to reinforce some of those messages that Kim was talking about, the safety, the cleanliness. We're a community partner. We're here for you when you're ready to fly. So, it was really an interesting year, but from a media perspective, we really had a lot of flexibility, and we had a good amount of coverage in the market that really supported us. I think it's important to also remind the audience here that we are still in market. Our media is going to run through September, and then we've got a couple of commitments that are going to carry over into August, September. So these results that we're going to share with you, they're continuing to mature, and I anticipate that we'll, at some point have a follow-up conversation where we can share with you the complete campaign results. Next slide, please. Now, our digital program accounts for more than 70% of our total impressions that we deliver in the market. And so we're going to spend probably a bit more time on our digital partnerships than our offline or traditional media partnerships. In terms of the web deliveries, our programs have generated 16.2 million impressions in the local market and nearly 16,000 clicks to flysba.com. Also with Sojourn, we're running display banners as well as video. And on the right-hand side, you can see, video completes and a completion rate. What this is telling us is that when we're serving video ad units to audiences who are actively planning travel out of the region, once they are served these ads, they are showing a really high likelihood to continue watching the ad to completion, which ultimately really supports the awareness piece that we really need to cover. Just for perspective, we're right in the ballpark of very strong completion rates. What we're seeing in the industry is, about an 80% completion rate, which is largely influenced by connected TVs, which are serving unskippable ad units. We're not running any unskippable ad units. Once these ads get delivered to users, they have the option of clicking forward, but what this number tells us is they're not. So that really is a quality score on the audiences that we're reaching and the messages that we're delivering to them. So we're really, really proud of that. Next slide, please. Sojourn is our single largest partnership of the year, and so we like to drill down a little bit further here. This program has generated more than 9 million impressions, more than 11,000 clicks, as I mentioned, over 1 million video completes. But beyond just the media deliveries, we also monitor what users are doing once, after they engage with our ads. What happens once they click through to the website? Are they spending more time on the site? Are they visiting multiple pages? Are they engaging with key pieces of content? And what we've seen over the last probably 15 to 18 months is more and more engagement with this cost calculator that's on the website. As you can see in the second to right column, airport calculator, that 10,000 number is really a reflection of the number of times that our advertising campaigns have driven audiences to the website to engage with that cost calculator, which means they've actually done cost comparisons between us and one of our largest competitors, which really is a statement of them really thinking about flying out of SBA versus LAX, and they're looking at the big picture costs, not just the airfare. So we're really proud of that because I think we've been working at that for such a long time, and now these numbers are starting to show that this is really hitting home within our catchment market. Next slide, please. So Expedia, as I mentioned a few slides ago, this is really a partnership that was aimed at driving immediate online ticket sales. So we kept all of our audiences in app, which means that any impressions that were served to them while they were on the Expedia website were really aimed at just building consideration and driving ticket sales. So this program was not designed to drive people to our website. Rather, we wanted to keep them in the Expedia platform, and we wanted to follow them around until they completed their purchase. This program, through the end of May, has generated more than 6,400 outbound ticket sales that are valued at just shy of $2.4 million in revenue. So this is something that we're really proud of. This partnership has proven to be really important in the context of our digital programs, and particularly in a year when there was so much turmoil for us. This program consistently connected us with people who were basically raising their hands saying we are ready to travel, and they were choosing us. So we're excited about these results, and again, these are not complete. We'll have more numbers to share with you in the next couple of months.
Yeah, and just one quick additional comment. This revenue, it's just so astounding, and we're so excited, and it's nice to be able to quantify the ROI essentially on what we're doing. And this is just one component of our media program, but Henry and Deanna are on their way to Roots. And so this is the type of information they can, share back to airlines saying, we've put money in your pocket with our advertising by filling planes out of Santa Barbara. And we're preparing some information for them to share with specific airlines as well.
Yeah. And also something that you guys may or may not be familiar with, but Southwest, these numbers don't even include anything that Southwest is doing. Because Southwest does not have any inventory on Expedia, and they don't share any of their data with marketing partners. So this does not account for any of the Southwest influence that we're seeing right now either. The lower left-hand box on the screen there where it shows travel window by days, This is essentially showing the amount of time that is, anticipated to lapse between, them booking a ticket and their trip. A couple of months ago, when we were looking at this data, we saw, much larger bars in the 0 to 6 and 7 to 13 days. As we're kind of getting back to quote unquote normal, what we're starting to see is, sort of a longer planning window. So things, that's just another reminder that things are starting to normalize a bit. So we will have, a ton more data once this program, is complete. But right now, I think another, important, bit here are the top outbound routes that we're able to identify within this platform. Phoenix is our #1, Seattle #2, Denver the 3rd, followed by Portland, Dallas, Boise, and Salt Lake City. So. Okay, next slide, please. So we've also maintained an ongoing partnership with Newshawk, as you're very familiar with them. They have really been a great local partner for us. This program in the current fiscal year rather, generated nearly 2 million impressions in the market and about 2,700 clicks to the website. Next slide. And then KEYT, our TV partner, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the fiscal year 20 carryover really allowed for greater continuity across FY21. We had our 15-second commercial spots running. We had a 10-second weather sponsorship spot that ran. And then we also had some digital advertising that was running in the market. In total, this partnership generated nearly 5 million impressions in the local market. And these impressions are validated by ComScore, which looks at TV ratings in some markets, as well as impact in the digital space. So these are all verified impressions. Next slide, please. And then finally, we had our out-of-home ads, which, for the most part have appeared on bus sides in the market. We originally planned for a flighted 5-month bus sides program that specifically targeted the Santa Barbara metro area. During planning, we built in a contingency fund that would allow us to respond to market conditions as things started to improve. And so as we started to see those trends happen, we used some of that money to extend our campaign duration in the summertime timeframe. And then we also expanded our market reach into Ventura County. And as you guys will see in the next couple of weeks, we've got some additional units that will be going up in San Luis Obispo. So this sort of allows us to sort of localize our messaging and really reinforce competitive advantages in some of those key competitive markets. Next slide, please. So just in terms of some key takeaways as we might think about what we've learned from the current fiscal year, flexibility throughout the year, through contingency, cancellation clauses, and also opportunities for creative changes almost on the fly as the landscape changed, really benefited us this year. It was critical. We felt like that was important, and I think that really is bearing out in the results that we're seeing. KEYT and Expedia provided continuity throughout the year, and this really allowed us to directly support some key marketing objectives. Specifically, as Kim noted, encouraging air travel, which in these marketing programs we have never done before, reinforcing safety messages, and finally, driving bookings among qualified travel intenders. And then final point here is exposed audiences who visited the website were most interested in the cost calculator. This tells us that our travel intenders are actually considering cost options more holistically before they make their choice. Next slide.
Great. Well, now we'll just share a brief social media recap. We can move on to the next slide, please. This gives you an idea, and we've talked about this over the years. Santa Barbara is very active in Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. However, each channel is different, and as we develop your content and we manage that program for you, we really look at the nuances and modify the content for that. So Twitter and Facebook are great for reaching our core demographic. Instagram is where we're really reaching that, what we're calling the next gen traveler. So 25, 34-year-old individuals their disposable income is growing. We have this opportunity to make build that loyalty, make Santa Barbara their airport. And we're doing just that. This year, we've made a few strategic changes to our social media. We've provided more get to know you opportunities, employee profiles, follower and traveler spotlights. Of course, small is faster and cleaner messaging, but we also changed our voice and tone slightly. We are first and foremost appreciative of the SBA traveler and folks for choosing us, but we really employed a light, fun, and a little cheeky tone. And it just really has been, it's been received so well. And, you know, we're having more back and forth in the comments and people are really enjoying it. We're getting more shares and we're able then to share their posts. We can click forward and take a quick look at these tweets. I'll just share with you the top 3 tweets. Twitter's not the most visual medium, so this isn't the most exciting slide, but those numbers sure are impressive. So you'll recall last August, we had a live stream Kenny Loggins concert that we partnered with Austin on. It was one of the highlights of my streaming pandemic. You know, we all watched so much stuff online, and to see that, it was really exciting. We got over 10,000 impressions off of our post and put no dollars behind it. I mean, just incredible, the organic reach of that post. And then the announcement, you know, of the start of United to O'Hare, tagging United, tagging O'Hare, putting out that Dave's Dogs message really grew our impressions on that. So we're strategically choosing how we frame these posts so we can maximize those impressions without necessarily having to put dollars behind them. And the last thing is, I'm not sure if any of you have followed this trend on social media, but there's a bit of a thing going right now for how it started, how it's going. And it's an old picture and a current picture. And so just about a week ago, we shared this photo. It's an old photo of the terminal years ago and then right now. And it got 4,500 impressions, but it was our most engaged tweet of the year. People loved it. They shared it. They favorited it, things like that. Next slide, please. On Facebook, this is our primary medium. We have the majority of our followers here. We have almost 4,500 followers as of last week. You know, Jetstream was our #1 reached post. And then we can go to the next slide. Southwest Airlines dominated engagement with our post this year. I think the entire market was waiting for this carrier to come, and they were very excited. And we were able to, with Angie and Deanna's help, to really gather a lot of really great content. That water cannon, I just love it so much. And I'm so sad we're entering a drought because they'll probably not let us do that too often. But it just, you know, just blew up on social media, you know, reached 15,265 people and over 1,800 engagements just on that water cannon video. Go ahead and pushing forward into Instagram. This is an exciting channel for us. It's really where engagement is happening, where the growth is happening. We had a 26% increase in followers this year, and that is huge. It's really challenging to get followers on Instagram because you can't really, you can't really share. It's hard to share other people's posts in your timeline. You have to do it through stories, and it's just a little bit harder for things to really take off. But what we did, Autumn Heacock's on our team, she really spent a lot of time tweaking that voice and seeking out the right content and tagging even locals as they shared information about Santa Barbara Airport to really show our appreciation. Jake Haran, an engineer at SBA, was our superstar of the year. He played the piano at Christmas time, and we reached 1,900 people all on its own, just with the hashtags and the tags. And all in all, posts like that, it allowed our reach to increase by 72% year over year. And this was a year that people were not super interested in coming to the airport, but they were certainly interested in interacting with us. So we were really excited about that. And of course, Southwest Airlines, once again, a total winner in Instagram. Next slide. We also, in the last 6 months or so, we've been increasingly engaged in Instagram stories. So sharing, not only running surveys like team shoes and team sandals, you'll see on this left-hand slide, and asking people to weigh in on that vote, sharing other people's videos, posts, their comments. We asked this middle image with the question mark. Sorry, this is my alarm that I'm presenting to you. So we asked them where they wanted us to go nonstop again, and we shared all of their responses. And then we also have poll people, you know, how much do you love this? And they can slide the hand. So that type of engagement is really helpful. And then our last slide for social, it just focuses on community stewardship. This has been a real effort from the internal team to focus on building our role in the community, and we've been able to really leverage that in Instagram. Sometimes it's softer. It's you know, doing a thank you to first responders for the Loma fire and capturing this beautiful photo that was taken by Cal Fire, one of their firefighters. Also, a wonderful program that was put together by Angie and Autumn, bringing Dave's dogs to celebrate the start of the flight to Chicago. And, you know, these pictures were flooding in over the weekend, and people were actually sitting on the front lawn of the airport having a hot dog, just enjoying that community space that is theirs. So we were really excited to see that. Popping forward into public relations, and Mo, we can just go right to the next slide. We spend a lot of time communicating that Santa Barbara was and continues to take extra precautions to ensure the health and safety and keep people posted. We did a series of media releases that made sure we established an active voice in the media of what we were doing. So we were always on ahead of it. When you're ready to fly, we're ready to serve, and what to expect. And then we did a lot of follow-up and tried to do a lot of one-on-one with the media outlets. So we were able to really guide the story and not let them tell the travel story on their own. And then always highlighting that smaller, easier, cleaner, and then promoting new routes as they came along. So we'll jump right into, that's 2020, 2021. It's a mouthful, but we thought it was important to share. Looking at our objectives for 21, 22, we're going to continue to encourage that air travel and position you as that as the airport of choice. We want to provide ongoing PR support to generate awareness of those nonstop flights and destinations, as well as the overall connectivity. The additional carrier, the additional cities, I mean, O'Hare and the Southwest cities really make Southwest a gateway to the world. And that's important. And we want to make sure that that's communicated. And then social media will continue to reinforce that access and ease of use. And then really focus on those new and nurture the existing community partnerships so we can enhance that public perception and overall awareness. We'll take a look at our strategies next. Question is, how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to reinforce the ease of use, nonstop flights and access. And we're doing that creatively right now. We'll use paid media to build awareness and drive bookings among those travel intenders. And a lot of what Chris was talking about, and he's going to share more about what we can do, more of what works, you know. Use social media to generate that awareness of the easy use nonstop destinations while focused on that brand affinity and really start to dial up that active community voice. People are so receptive to it, and it's really a place we want Santa Barbara to dwell in the social media space. And then we'll use our PR to reinforce core messages and support the community relations, but also actively pitch to secure feature story opportunities. So we have a PR consultant we work with, and we want to really task her with some very meaty things that we can really nurture with some reporters and take them along and help grow that story. Digging right in the creative campaign, we can just go right to the visuals. These are actually examples of outdoor bus sites and outdoor boards that are running now or will begin running next week. It's a good example of how that public service campaign that I mentioned earlier can morph into really being about consumer benefits. And that was our plan all along. We couldn't pigeonhole ourselves. Here we're able to say more flights, more destinations, more often. FlySBA.com, choose from your favorite airlines at SBA. Imagine this billboard in San Luis Obispo. Right, you know, it's really competitive, it's in your face, but it's a really fun message. And then in Ventura County, don't let your air travel experience go south. Choose SBA. So just, you know, having fun, using that quintessential Santa Barbara tone that we've established, you know, even back to don't LAX relax that we all love. You know, that's still there. And we're just using those punchy colors to tell people we're in a positive space. And, you know, there is that light at the end of the tunnel. We can jump right into the media plan now.
Excellent. So we are going to use paid media to of course, continue to build awareness and also to drive bookings. And for our paid media programs, we're essentially targeting two audiences, and we sort of prioritize our media for the outbound leisure traveler who lives in the catchment area. And this audience, from a demographics perspective, they're 35 to 64, generally have a college degree or higher, and live in households with $100,000 or more a year. We also, though, like to target our outbound business travelers also living in the catchment area. Obviously, this is continuing to be sort of an interesting year, and we're just, as companies start reenacting business travel, we're closely monitoring that. And so we're going to need to determine when exactly to integrate this audience based on market behavior. But right now, our general thinking is that we'll fold in some tactics that specifically target these audiences in the fall so that we can intercept that first quarter, even early second quarter business travel. Next slide. So in terms of the strategies that will apply to our paid media program, we're gonna, what we found with, the success of our continuity programs this year, we believe that was a really important sort of approach that will benefit us again going into the new fiscal year. So we want to establish continuity to drive bookings throughout the year, not just during those travel planning windows. We also want to prioritize partnerships and channels that provide equitable coverage across the catchment market. And as you guys know, Santa Barbara is sort of an interesting market. If we were to look at sort of the footprint of television versus the footprint of the radio markets within that television sort of footprint, we can buy one TV station that covers the entire market equitably, or we can buy 4 radio metros to achieve the same coverage. So when I talk about providing equitable coverage, that's really what I'm alluding to. Choosing partners that give us more bang for our buck, so to speak, the most efficient coverage of the market. We also want to prioritize partnerships that drive measurable outcomes. And that really speaks to the importance of our digital programs. The digital partnerships that we've been developing, they specialize in travel and tourism. They have the data that we need in order to not only identify audiences as they are actively planning travel out of the market, but also it gives us that end-to-end visibility so that we can understand, how many people we've touched, and how many we've influenced in terms of choosing SBA for their outbound trips. We also want to consider partnerships that support our earned media outreach. And that really just means, working very closely with our PR consultant, figuring out sort of what her exact pursuits are, and then seeing if there's a way that we can sort of support each other in that. So if there are media partnerships that might benefit from a paid media schedule, then we would like to be able to sort of consider that as well. And then finally, we want to continue to reinforce competitive messaging in key areas. And so what you might see is not only continuation of robust sites in Santa Barbara, but also in Ventura, and also up in the northern markets as well. So really just supporting that localized messaging. Next slide. In terms of the tactical approach, and it's important just to note here is we are actively in planning right now, so we don't have the budget fully allocated yet, but our hope and our plan is to maintain the baseline program of the digital tactics that we presented, as well as our partnership with KEYT. But we also are considering options that are allowing for additional outreach to key audience segments within the catchment market, and also partnerships that are going to enhance our community connection. So that's sort of like a peek behind the curtain of what's coming. There's still much work to be done, but we feel good, having come out of our meeting with Deanna and Henry and Angie, we feel really good about the direction that we're moving in for FY22.
Yeah, and one thing just before we jump to social media, we talk about this community connection, and we have I know, at the airport, we're always in constant dialogue with our community partners, but you guys might not always get exposure to them. But we have a really strong partnership with Visit Santa Barbara, and they have been just a critical partner, particularly as we've been launching Southwest Airlines. They are willing to come to the table, in supporting really any new route for us, and just been an outstanding partner. And we continue to have regular conversations with them about how we can create lift for our routes. On that inbound side. So we're able, as we focus on outbound, they support the inbound. And then the Santa Barbara South Coast Chamber has also been a really important partner for us, and really nice to work with them to monitor where that business travel, when they're starting to see that lift. They run a lot of internal surveys, and we're able to just have a really nice open dialogue with them as we go along through this ever evolving time. Going forward to social media. We can just click forward. We're going to use social media to generate awareness of that ease of use, those nonstop destinations, and make sure we're building that brand loyalty and the community voice. So what we do is our approach to social media is what we call an inform, inspire, and engage strategy. Every post has to have purpose. It's either to inform, it's to inspire, and most posts should engage. So when we talk about informing for SBA, we want to make sure our audiences know what's going on at the airport and in the community. We find we get a lot of engagement when we just tell our own locals that we're excited about what's going on in our own backyard too. Breaking news, new routes, they love that, and we love to share it. We inspire our followers to travel with travel articles, blogs, surveys. We focus on surprise and delight when we can surprise someone in the airport or share something new, and we provide funny, relevant travel, industry, or local insights. The engagement, we encourage follower interaction, like I showed you on those stories, asking questions, encouraging them to fill in our information, highlight locals and businesses in our stories, using surveys, polls, GIFs. So just really bringing our social to life. And it's been really successful, and we're looking forward to continuing that. We can flip to the next slide. So just a couple updates we'll be making this year is using paid social posts and contests to support our new routes and extend beyond our page followers. A great example of this is the Alaska Airlines promotion that we're currently running right now to promote the San Diego route. We requested, and they agreed to give us 2 round-trip tickets to San Diego, and they also added in 2 tickets to the San Diego Zoo. So it's really driving people into that market, and we posted it. We have over 15,000 impressions on that. We have over 2,200 entries, and our followers on our Facebook page have grown by 500 just in the last 7 days. So people love it, and we get a lot of exposure from it, and it's really driving that awareness of the route. We want to continue to provide timely updates as COVID's impact on SBA changes and evolves. First thing yesterday morning, the first post that went out was masks are still required in the airport. We want to mitigate customer issues at any time, and social media is a great tool to do that. And then those employee profiles and passenger profiles, people love them. When we're sharing information, just 2 days ago, we shared a gentleman that works for SBA, and he was outside on the ramp. It got so much engagement. And then, we're also going to develop a content strategy that's featuring the benefits provided by tourism recovery. So talking, hearkening back to a little bit of that noise issue we were talking about is how can we talk about, it's not about growth, it's about recovery, and remind people that the buzz on the sidewalks and in the skies was a really wonderful thing in 2019, and it should be a wonderful thing in 2021. So that's something we're partnering closely with Visit Santa Barbara on content, and James Minton and I were teed up some emails today just to start working on that content. And last, we'll just close with the PR program. We can pop right to that slide. So again, we're reinforcing those core messages, supporting our community relations, and then focused on those feature stories. The safe, clean, signature, easy, convenient, and welcoming airport. We want to make sure that's always a part of our message. Taking a look at that community relations content, the recovery content, how can we craft a feature story around that and find the right reporters to talk about it? New routes, airline partnerships, these are always things that we want to make sure we don't just let airlines take the lead on that. the Santa Barbara internal team is always pushing those messages forward and working closely with our PR consultants to make sure that, we're adding those extra hands when they need them. And then actively pitching the media for story opportunities. So again, going after those specific feature opportunities rather than the ones that are probably more predictable, and that will help us build and support those partnerships. So that was a quick, gigantic overview. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Well, I have to say, I'm really disappointed that you had so little to say about our marketing. That was an amazing report. I'm still smiling about the not letting your travel experience go south. I mean, all of you do a great job. It's just a great campaign, but that one in particular, I'm still smiling about. So hats off to whoever came up with that one. Wow, what a report. Just really, really impressive. And, impressive at a time when people are, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, just all great stuff. So anyway, it's a love fest on what you guys are doing. Mo, could we see if we have any public comment on this item?
Members of the public, if you would like to comment on the marketing report, would you please use your raised hand icon on your menu? And there are no raised hands, Chair Arcuri.
Alrighty, well then we'll move on to airport commissioners. And if any airport commissioners have any questions or comments, I'd love to see you frantically wave your hand.
Chair Arcuri, I'm not seeing any frantic waving hands.
Alrighty. Well, then, again, thank you folks for that report. Just very, very impressive. I'm sure the director, Deanna, Angie, and everybody is just thrilled at what you guys are doing and the effect that's having. So with that, I'm sorry, does somebody have a comment there, Mo?
Oh, it was just Kim. I was just saying thank you for your kind words. We are excited about it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, I'm a bit of a marketing guy myself, so I know, you see all the end result, but I know how much creative work goes into that before we see all the cool stuff at the end. So again, thank you. Okay, so on to item 9, our final item, presentation regarding the task force working group. A recommendation that the airport commission receive a staff presentation regarding the task force working group related to flight instruction for the update to the SBA minimum standards document. I'm betting Aaron is going to give that report, but whoever is, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, item number 9 on tonight's agenda is our normal monthly update on the progress being made towards the development of the minimum standards for flight instruction. These updates are important to provide staff an opportunity to share with you the progress being made in real time. It also educates and informs you on the complex matters that will come before you in the future. Progress is being made, and we're maintaining the schedule that we've shared with you and expect to have this work completed by August the 13th, as promised. And with that, Aaron, you can take it away.
All right. Thank you, Henry. Good evening again, commissioners. And I will say it will be hard to follow that HILTAC presentation. This will be a little drier, but nevertheless, it's a very important topic for us to bring to your attention. I will breeze through some of our initial slides because you have seen them before, but at the end, feel free to ask any questions and I can clarify any points. But with that being said, we can go ahead and get started here. Again, who is on the task force working group? We have Bob Trimborn, who's facilitating this for us. Henry, myself, Quinn Martinez, Melissa Garcia, and actually we've even had a senior operations specialist sit in on some of these meetings just for exposure. Again, no direct FAA representation, and This is focused on a few different industries that you see here in the membership, or I shouldn't say industries, I should say stakeholder groups, and that would be included on the next slide here that speaks to what those groups are. We have, a flight school operator, independent flight instructors, and then flying clubs. This touches all three of those different types of flight instruction providers. I'm not going to read to you the definitions of each, but I'm happy to touch on any of that if there are questions. Again, you've seen this slide before, so no surprises here. Next slide, please. So I think this slide right here is the one I wanted to focus in on. As promised, and as Henry just spoke with you on, we are on track. Basically, we're going to have all three meetings completed 1 week after each subsequent meeting, or each subsequent meeting will be completed 1 week after on Wednesdays. So we just had our Flying Club Focus meeting group meet today. So as of today, we've met with the flight schools, we met with the flying clubs, and next Wednesday we'll be meeting with the independent flight instructors. And I should say that the meetings or the membership of each meeting brings all of these people into one room. And the importance of that was really enlightening to me today. I saw a couple light bulb moments for some of our members that were participating, where they said, now I understand a little bit more why there's so much passion behind this group versus another group. And my takeaway from that was, we've been talking about this, but we've not had the leaders of each individual group all in a room together to really come to that common understanding. So just to walk through kind of the format of how these meetings are being held. Mr. Trimborn will kind of give the general FAA perspective of each of these stakeholder groups from the standpoint of the FAA and how they look at how each group should operate technically on an airfield per their compliance manual. So we start there, we then move into the SBA minimum standards, the existing minimum standards, and how they're currently regulated. Again, the FAA gives us very broad definitions for how each group shall operate. And then it's up to the airport locally to determine how does it work best for our community to ensure that we can make sure that every entity can coexist on the airfield. Then we'll take a quick lunch break. We come back, we have the focus meeting attendee. So for example, today, the flying clubs, give them the opportunity to give a presentation for the flight schools to understand what they're doing, for the independent flight instructors to understand what the flying clubs are doing, and vice versa for every meeting. And again, it's positive, it's good. And when the light bulb clicks on for these individuals, that for me is the gratification, and knowing what we're doing is the right approach to solving this problem. Yes, we're not going to come out with solutions that appease everyone, but we're all able to come together and just understand each other and what our needs are, what our desires are. So there really is benefit at the end of the day. It's not just a check the box type situation. So I'm very pleased to report that back to you. And again, next Wednesday, we'll be holding the independent flight instructor meeting. Next slide, please. Again, just a recap of the, how the meetings are handled. But again, we have to achieve full regulatory compliance. And in our meetings, each and every time, we're discussing the FAA's perspective on what we're doing and where we need to go. And then at the end, we'll finally have a discussion that will hopefully render some results or some ideas perhaps that we haven't thought of before. So we're not there yet. That will be in our next meeting. So next slide, please. Again, focusing on deliverables from each meeting. We have individuals in there taking notes. So what I anticipate is at the conclusion of all of our stakeholder meetings, we'll have minutes from each meeting, and then finally we'll have a report from our consultant detailing any further recommendations that we feel are enforceable and achievable as a result of this working group. Again, minimum standards, we will have a change in structure. And what that may mean is variable. We really need to discuss what the working group has for recommendations. And we'll talk about fees. We'll talk about the number of hours, number of students, perhaps. There are a lot of ideas that are kind of going through our collective brains as we're having these discussions. And I anticipate there will be some changes that will come before you, and then ultimately City Council for final adoption. Next slide, please. So again, I promised it would be brief. Just really an update as to where we stand today. And if there are any questions, we're happy to take them at this time.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. And Mo, let's solicit any comment from members of the public, please.
Members of the public, if you would like to speak on this agenda item, please use the raised hand icon on your GoToWebinar menu to let me know. And Chair Curry, there are no raised hands.
Okay. All right. Then let's go around the room with the airport commissioners. And do we have any airport commissioners with questions or comments?
Chair Curry, Carl Hopkins has raised his hand.
Aaron,
Go ahead, Carl.
Aaron, I would just like to say I'm very pleased to see the speed at which the group is moving forward, and I wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to hearing the outcome here in a couple of months. That's all I have to say.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Yes, I'd like to comment if I might. Assuming that 5190.6B is the controlling document, flying clubs are pretty well defined in their operations. If you look in Part 4, Chapter 10, Section 10.6, it's very clear how flying clubs should be operating. And I think that so long as they do that, that would shake out the issue between flying clubs and the flight schools. The documents seem to be fairly silent on independent instructors, except in Advisory Circular 150/5. It does seem to incorporate independent flight instructors with specialized service providers, suggesting that perhaps they should all be treated the same. Now, interpreting the regulation is one issue, but getting everybody to come on board and understand it the same way is a far more difficult problem. I think that's where Aaron is making great progress these days, getting all of.
Certainly, I appreciate that feedback, and I will agree with you, Commissioner Wilson. You know, the FAA does clearly define it. You know, the waters were muddied a little bit with the 2016-2017 update to the Federal Register that allowed flight instruction to occur for members of a flying club, and I think that's just a growing pain that we're experiencing. Let's put it that way, and it complicates the matter just a little bit more. And again, at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that it's fair and non-discriminatory to all of our stakeholders that we value, and we value each service that each of the three entities provide. And you're absolutely right. The FAA documents are a very good resource, and we discuss those in each and every single meeting. So that way we all have a very common understanding of how the FAA views these, and then how do we implement that here on airport locally.
Alrighty, thanks, Aaron, and thanks, Commissioner Wilson. Any other questions from any other airport commissioners? Well, alrighty then. Just a note that the next airport commission meeting is scheduled for July 21st, 2021, 6 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel, as it were. And with that, I will adjourn this airport commission meeting. Good night, everybody. The Dons won. Go Dons.